There have been a lot of reports and rumors regarding Nick Nurse and his potential future with the Toronto Raptors over the course of this season, and some comments Nick Nurse made yesterday added some fuel to the fire that have a lot of people questioning about whether or not he'll be the head coach of this team coming into next season. So we'll discuss his quote, as well as all the reporters sort of giving their insights into what he actually is meaning. So we'll break that down, as well as Chris Boucher being sick of the Toronto Raptors' fake comebacks and some big changes coming to the NBA as a whole. So lots of stuff to break down. Without further ado, let's jump on the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is Nick Nurse's concerning comments on his future with the Toronto Raptors. Now, I guess this is concerning for people that are like me, that are a fan of head coach Nick Nurse, even if he does have his faults, especially with a young and developing roster. But Nick Nurse, right? He's a guy that won an NBA championship, that has had a lot of great seasons with this Raptors team, has not lived up to his usual expectations this year in terms of managing players, or, he's always been a minute loader in terms of guys that he trusts, right? He's willing to bury guys deep into the bench if he doesn't think that they're able to perform, rather than developing them and giving them opportunities. It worked last season, but it hasn't translated to wins this year, and there's been a lot of rumors and reports, as I discussed in the intro. Nick Nurse must be feeling it, as he had felt the need to comment on some of these reports and rumors yesterday. So I'll pull up what he had to say here now.
When this season gets done, we'll evaluate everything, and even personally, like, I'm going to take a few weeks to see where I'm at. Like you said, where's my head at, and just see how the relationship with the organization is and everything. It's been 10 years for me now, which is a pretty good run. Right now, my head is to get this and make this as long a season as possible. This team needs playoff experience, right? So that is where I'm at right now.
You put more thought then into, for whatever the reason, you might not be back next year?
No, I think that I'm concentrated on this job for sure, and this game, essentially. But I think 10 years is a good time to sit back and reflect a little bit, right? So I think that's where we're going. We'll do that all when the season ends.
So Nick Nurse obviously didn't say anything horrible. He's not saying, I'm giving up on this team, or I'm done with the season. No, he's still focused on this year. He's still looking to make a deep playoff run with this Raptor squad, but it's a very weird time for him to bring up and go so much into depth about, I've been here for 10 years. I'm going to do a lot of reflecting this off season to see what my future will entail and all that. And, people have made some comments, and Doug Smith, the Toronto Star, basically talked about, the rumors that have popped up regarding the Rockets being a team that has been thrown out in recent reports, as well as Ime Udoka potentially coming in to replace him. But Michael Grange did a full article essentially giving his takes on what he's heard. Essentially, this is a summary coming from Reddit that I thought did a good job at it, but basically that the tea leaves around the NBA, we'll see that there's read words and presume the rumors are true and the wheels are in motion. But the people Nurse works for, Ujiri and manager Bobby Webster, will wonder why their head coach is entertaining questions about his future. This is not a situation where there is diplomatic relations have been frozen and the two sides aren't communicating. That said, according to sources, this isn't a slow motion negotiation for a contract extension. On the other side of the equation, there's been no communication about a role Toronto with Udoka. So Michael Grange is shooting that down in this article. But Nurse was willing to entertain the subject. A critical moment suggests that issues are a lot closer to the surface than most have realized. So basically what Grange is summarizing there and talking about in that article is there isn't anything catastrophic going on between Nick Nurse and the front office right now, given all the reports, and he's shooting down the Ime Udoka stuff. He's saying that he hasn't heard anything out there on that front. But the fact that he was making these comments, the fact that he did have those subtle little hints about, I might not be here, or, didn't say that overtly or anything like that, but those, questioning about his future. 10 years is a long time to reflect, all that sort of stuff, does mean that, there's a little bit of more concerns besides Jerry and Bobby Webster have to be looking at if they're hoping to keep Coach Nurse around for a very long time. So we'll see what ends up happening on that front. I personally am a big fan of Nick Nurse. Unless we're getting, a top tier coach, or the locker room has completely froze him out, zoned him out, then, maybe it's time to move on. But I don't want to be firing Nick Nurse if we can't guarantee get a coach. It's going to be, a top tier, a top 6-7 coach in the NBA. Ime Udoka may be able to do that, but obviously we don't know about the off-the-court stuff, whether Masai Ujiri would actually bring him in or not, so we'll see what ends up happening on that front. But I wouldn't fire Nick Nurse or let them mutually part ways just for nothing, so we'll see what happens there. But definitely some interesting stuff. A lot of interesting decisions have to be made this offseason. But the next thing we're taking a look at is Chris Boucher is sick of the fake comebacks. He's fake of the sick comebacks. He's sick of the fake comebacks. Can't speak right now, but Chris Boucher, obviously, he's pretty candid about the team. He's pretty open about how he feels about the squad. He has his own podcast going on and all that. But in a post-game interview, he had a fun little comment regarding the Raptors almost coming back against the 76ers last night. So got all the videos pulled up today, so I'll pull that one up.
So we don't win. A lot of those games, imagine we would have won like 4 or 5 games, we would have played with that same energy. I think we would have been in a better position. So clearly, it's starting to cost a lot of game, and I think we're tired of seeing the same result every time. Obviously, it's the goals, the L's, and we can't get no more L's anymore.
The fake comebacks have kind of been a meme on Raptors Twitter, Reddit, and all that sort of stuff. But it's funny to see Chris Boucher bring that up and just say, hey, we got to win these games, especially with how important it is to close out the season, with how tight the conference has been and all that sort of stuff. So, Raptors are in a tough situation right now, and that leads us into our next topic, as the Raptors are a tough position down the stretch of the season, as things are neck and neck out here in the Eastern Conference. We're tied with the Atlanta Hawks. We sort of broke down the standings and all that on the post-game live last night, but we got a little bit more to sort of sink our teeth into, as Josh Lewinberg essentially put it. He talked about the fight in the second half and all that, but the road woes continue. While the Raptors have won 10 of 11 games at home, they now dropped 7 of their last 8 on the road in Toronto, away from Toronto, and 4 of their final games come on the road, and they can't even bank on a couple wins in Charlotte, with the Hornets playing spoiler recently. And as we've sort of discussed, the Raptors have those 5 games, 2 against the Charlotte Hornets, and then 3 of the final games against either the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics. So given the fact Charlotte has been playing better, I know they're injured and all that, it's going to be on the road, and they have been playing spoiler, just to steal Josh Lewinberg's verbiage there. But hopefully we'll be able to flip around those road woes and beat one of the lower tier teams in the league, because to end off the season, the Bucks and the Celtics are 2 teams that are hoping to get W's to jockey for position to be at the top of the conference and get home court advantage against 2 of those teams if they do end up being a conference finals matchup. So those I don't imagine are going to be easy wins, and hopefully they end up resting a few guys, because we need every single opportunity we can get, because 5 games left. We're still within arm's reach of the Miami Heat if they can lose some games, but we want to get ahead of the Atlanta Hawks, so we're not in the bottom tier of these play-in tournament. We're at the top tier, and we get the home court advantage. So in that second game, if we lose the first one. So tough position for the Toronto Raptors, doable. We got to beat these Charlotte Hornets teams, so definitely be on the lookout for those games. Should be fun ones to watch for this Raptors squad. And the final thing we're taking a look at is changes coming to the NBA, as fortunately for all NBA fans, people are fans of basketball and stuff that enjoy watching the games, even though the Raptors have had their low moments, it doesn't seem like we're going to have a lockout coming out soon, as the Players Association, the league, have agreed on a collective bargaining agreement, and it's leading to some changes coming to the NBA. Basically, Shams, this is Shams' tweet, NBA and NBPA Players Association have agreed on a minimum number of games played, 65 games for players to be eligible for major individual league awards such as NBA or MVP and to the new CBA. Also, new additions are that the second tax apron will be added. When reached, it will eliminate the team's tax player mid-level exception, so that's going to be brutal for some of the upper echelon teams in the league. Veteran extension limits will increase from 120% to 140%. So that means if you got some vets, you're going to have to pay them big time, which is unfortunate for some people with aging stars, some teams with aging stars. And there'll be a third 2-way contract via the cap exception. So, some things changed. I think the mid-level is probably the most interesting. If you're a hard cap team, if you're in that sort of cap tier, you don't even get your mid-level to acquire a guy like the Warriors last season, be able to get DiVincenzo, different players, right? Being able to thrown in the mid-level. So, I don't know. Interesting stuff. I think that makes sense if teams are just going to overspend, right? Make it a little bit more fair, more of a level playing field. But, I don't know. happy that there's going to be no lockout. Let me know what you guys think about those changes coming to the NBA. But folks, you guys are the best for making this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.